Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Whenever we see a royal state visit, it's so incredibly easy to just get caught up in the flashing cameras, the endless motorcades, and those, well, very formal handshakes. But right behind the velvet ropes and the waving flags, there is some serious world-altering business going on. Today, we're diving straight into King Charles' recent state visit to the US, and we're looking at the actual real-world impacts of this trip. We're going way beyond the pageantry to figure out exactly how these events shape global policy. To really set the stage here, think about the year 2007. That is literally the last time a British monarch made a state visit to the United States. It's been a remarkably long time, hasn't it? And that means the stakes for this recent visit were incredibly high. This wasn't just some polite routine drop-in. No way. It was a rare, highly orchestrated event explicitly designed to move the needle on some very tangible international issues. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to break this down into 6 key pillars. 1. A historic royal return. 2. Economic wins surrounding whiskey tariffs. 3. Saving the special relationship. 4. Small-town charm diplomacy. 5. The Koh-i-Noor controversy. And finally, 6. Pageantry meets real politics.
So, starting with Section 1, a historic royal return. Moving right along to Section 2, economic wins and whiskey tariffs. Now, when King Charles wrapped up this monumental trip, the outcomes weren't just a few nice photo ops. Actually, following the royal visit, we saw a massive and immediate economic development. President Trump announced the removal of whiskey tariffs. This specific move acts as a huge boost for Scotland's ability to trade directly with the state of Kentucky, specifically regarding whiskey and bourbon. It's really a perfect example of how a royal trip can spur immediate financial action, basically translating those polite diplomatic handshakes directly into hard economic realities. Which brings us to Section 3, saving the special relationship. Stepping back from the trade deals for a second, there was a much larger diplomatic goal at play here. Have you ever heard of the special relationship? It refers to the exceptionally close political, diplomatic, cultural, and historical alliance between the US and the UK. Honestly, it's essentially the bedrock of Western diplomacy. But, as we all know, alliances require constant maintenance. Protecting and reinforcing this specific relationship was the overarching objective of the entire trip. In fact, analysts have universally characterized this as a diplomatic charm offensive. The goal was heavily focused on bolstering US-UK relations through direct engagement with President Trump. And the real heavy lifting of diplomacy often happens right there, in these high-level interpersonal engagements. Right now, international analysts are actively evaluating the outcomes of these meetings to determine if this charm offensive successfully saved or reinforced that special relationship between the two nations.
That leads us to Section 4, small-town charm diplomacy.
And this brilliantly illustrates the dual nature of modern royal PR. On one hand, you have the absolute pinnacle of formal diplomacy, a solemn, deeply respectful visit to Arlington Cemetery, honoring shared history and sacrifices. But then on the other hand, the final day in Virginia featured a highly informal, small-town America experience at a local block party. This delicate balance, maintaining the profound dignity of the crown while simultaneously projecting a wholesome, approachable charm, is absolutely vital for winning over the public.
Next up is Section 5, the Koh-i-Noor controversy.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the question, what about the shadows of the past? Because, let's be real, wherever the crown goes, its long, sprawling history follows right behind it. During this visit, the looming legacy of colonial history actively shadowed the diplomatic celebrations, and it sparked a very modern, very passionate debate. This visit actually prompted a very public discussion regarding colonial-era artifacts. Specifically, the mayor of New York City made headlines by stating his intention to ask King Charles to return the famously controversial Koh-i-Noor diamond. Now, it's important to clarify here that it remains entirely unknown whether this topic was officially raised during their actual meeting, but just the fact that a prominent local leader intended to bring it up, that highlights how historical repatriation remains a very active, unresolved issue in modern international relations.
And finally, Section 6, pageantry meets real politics. So, to summarize the really wide-ranging outcomes of this single trick, economically, we saw direct action with the tariff removal. Diplomatically, the crown executed a strategic charm offensive aimed at solidifying an essential international alliance. And symbolically, well, the visit forced a spotlight right onto complex repatriation debates. If there was one major takeaway from this explainer, it's that modern royalty is far from purely ceremonial. It intersects deeply and directly with concrete global affairs.
Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder. In the 21st century, is a monarch's true power in the literal crown they wear, or is it in the conversations, the trade deals, and the debates that they spark? It's a fascinating question about the true modern utility of these historic state visits, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Let that question simmer, and I'll see you in the next explainer.